So, guys, Manchester United return to Premier League action on Sunday evening away against Marco Silva's Fulham at CRAVEN COTTAGE. It is a 7 o'clock evening away kickoff for Manchester United on Sunday evening on match day 23 of the 24-25 Premier League season, where we are at that point of the season now where Manchester United are starting to play most of their teams they started to play at the start of August in 2024 this year. In the reverse fixture, Manchester United narrowly defeated Fulham 1-0 at Old Trafford on the start of the new Premier League season. We narrowly escaped with a 1-0 victory, thanks again to a goal scorer who has really struggled to adapt for Premier League life, a goal scorer that has failed to score in his last 5 to 6 games, and a goal scorer where Manchester United put a lot of hope, a lot of faith, and a lot of promise in Joshua Zirkzee, who grabbed the winning goal for Manchester United on his debut at the start of the Premier League season. And honestly, we all thought that might be the start of something. We all thought that was probably Manchester United's nerves at the start of the season, which are always there because of the expectation levels that are required at Manchester United. But little did we all know that this Premier League season would be the season of nightmares, where Manchester United are suffering their worst league campaign ever, our worst points tally ever, and possibly our worst ever league position finish in Premier League history, and as well as in Manchester United's history as well. So we are away to Fulham on Sunday. Obviously, we beat them 1-0 in the reverse fixture thanks to Joshua Zirkzee's debut goal for Manchester United. And since then, it's been a massively disappointing Premier League campaign for Manchester United, where it's not been the season where I thought Manchester United were going to do really well. And I honestly thought we would kick on with our players that we brought in the summer transfer window of last year. I honestly thought Ten Hag would go on and lead Manchester United to great success again. But again, little did we all know, a few months later, Erik Ten Hag was going to be sacked by Manchester United. And here we are under Ruben Amorim, who is facing quite a lot of questions, quite a lot of pressure. And the pressure is massively on him to try and turn this Premier League season around, with only now 3 months left of this Premier League season, which I think we all realistically want it to end. I don't think there's any Manchester United fan or supporter out there who doesn't want this season to finish. I think obviously the Premier League has taken a massive back seat now for Manchester United with our commitments in the FA Cup and as well in the Europa League. I think the Premier League now is one of those things, well, it doesn't really matter if we win. It doesn't really matter if we get a point. And it doesn't really matter in hindsight if we don't win the game. But our league position tells a lot of other stories. We are currently 13th to 14th in the Premier League table. We're only 7 points above the bottom three, above Ipswich, Leicester, and Southampton. So Manchester United's Premier League safety isn't exactly guaranteed if Manchester United fail to pick up points against Fulham on Sunday. And obviously we all know what CRAVEN COTTAGE is like. It's always a tough fixture. It's always a tough game for any opposition that goes away to Fulham. At this point of the season, Fulham are always one of those teams that always give everyone a game. Fulham are one of those teams where they get quite a few shock results and a few shock performances. And obviously, if you look at Fulham this season, they have done really well under Marco Silva. And obviously, their recruitment of bringing in players like Emil Smith-Rowe and Raul Jimenez, it proves a point with good recruitment and a good manager. Fulham are going to become such a more stable club in the Premier League, down to the players that they are bringing into their football club, as well as their recruitment is a masterstroke for them as well. And they've got a really good manager who's had so many years of Premier League experience with other Premier League clubs, including Hull City. I think since Marco Silva turns up for Fulham, he has done really well. And I think Fulham were always one of those yo-yo clubs under Scott Parker. I remember the days when Scott Parker was the manager of Fulham, and Fulham were massively up and down as a club because one season they were in the Premier League, the next season they were back in the Championship. Season after that, they go back from the they come back up from the Championship, back up to the Premier League, and then they go up to the Premier League, go back down, and then go back up again. They were a very, very big yo-yo club under Scott Parker, and obviously it was never going to work with him at Fulham. And I think Fulham made the right decision bringing Marco Silva in, because look at the results they're getting on the pitch. You look at the players they're bringing in and the quality that has made Fulham quite a strong, stable club now, instead of the club they once were under Scott Parker, where they were bringing in 10 to 12 different new players that couldn't fit their system. Marco Silva, I think, has brought an end to those days where Fulham are just signing anyone for the sake of it. I think Fulham are being able to attract that type of player now because they can offer a lot of first-team football to a lot of Premier League experienced players, where at their current clubs they're probably not getting it. And I think that is why they've been able to bring in the likes of Emil Smith-Rowe, Raul Jimenez, Sander Berg from Burnley, Castagna. When Leicester got relegated, he went to Fulham as well. So Fulham have added quite a few experienced Premier League players, where two of those players out of four were relegated with Burnley and Leicester, respectively. And obviously, the lure of Premier League football is always going to be there, because once you're a relegated Premier League club into the Championship, your players are still going to face a massive uncertain future with you, because the lure of Premier League football is still going to be there. And I think Fulham have done well to recruit players that are being able to fit into Marco Silva's system. And I think bringing in that experience, bringing in that goal scorer in Raul Jimenez as well. Obviously, Fulham got Raul Jimenez out of Wolves very, very cheaply. I remember when Raul Jimenez was linked with all the big six clubs in Tottenham, Manchester United, Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs. I remember when the days of Raul Jimenez was linked with all the big six. And obviously when he was at Wolves, he was banging in the goals. And I think when Wolves had that really, really bad season under Nuno Espirito Santo, which ended up him leaving their football club, Fulham pounced at the opportunity to bring that experienced goal scorer into their team, because Fulham didn't really have it under the options that they have in the past. And Fulham have got that recognisable goal scorer now who is consistent in front of goal. Raul Jimenez is a really, really good player. His consistency, his conversion rate, the goals he is scoring for Fulham this season. This is why Fulham are paralleling up the Premier League table, because they've got that goal scorer who can put the ball in the net for them. They've always got that consistent player down the middle for them that they basically know guarantees you goals. And I think that is where, in hindsight, Manchester United have gone massively, massively wrong. And it's going to be a big problem again on Sunday, because 135 million of our money has gone on players like Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund. And that has been a massive, massive L. That's been a massive, massive reality check. And it's been a massive, massive mistake. We've got two players that are inconsistent in front of goal. I can't remember how many games or matches we have gone now in a row when those two have failed to put the ball into the back of the net. And I think that is where Manchester United have gone massively, massively wrong. It's because of their recruitment. They've gone with players with huge potential at quite a young age. And obviously, that's not always a bad thing. Then, in hindsight, you want to push these younger players on into the future that become more of a credible source for the goals. But the problem is at Manchester United, there is a lack of confidence, positivity, and belief in Rasmus and in Zirkzee. And we are basically stuck with them because we can't get rid of them because of the wage that they're on. We can't get rid of them because of the money that we paid for them. And no one's going to come anywhere near these two, because the problem we've got is other clubs are going to look at their form and look at their conversion rate and look at the lack of goals that either of them have not been providing. No one's going to come anywhere near Rasmus Højlund or Joshua Zirkzee. Manchester United could have done with someone like Raul Jimenez in that starting lineup on Sunday for the Red Devils. We could have done with that consistent goal scorer in our team. We don't have it. Mostly our goals are coming through the resources of our midfield. That at the moment is Manchester United's biggest strength in depth. is the quality of the midfield and the goals that we are managing to provide from that aspect on the pitch. But the problem is, it's not always going to happen week in, week out. Fulham are a very, very strong team. They've got a strong back four. They've got a strong midfield. They've got a very, very physical attack. And I fear badly for Manchester United on Sunday because, again, I look at that team. I look at those players. Are we really good enough to go head to toe with Fulham? My realistic view and my opinion is we are not good enough to go head to toe with Fulham at this moment in time because Fulham are on better form. And obviously, in their last fixture, like, no disrespect to their fans and their supporters, you played Leicester City away at the King Power. I don't think anyone was really that surprised Fulham went to Leicester and got all 3 points. I don't think anyone can be too surprised Fulham won that game. Like, Leicester are in a relegation fight. They're in the bottom three again under Ruud van Nistelrooy, an ex-Manchester United legend. He's lost 6 out of the last 7 games for Leicester City as their manager, and the pressure's on him. And obviously, Fulham increased that pressure with that 2-0 win. No one was surprised Fulham won that game. It's because Leicester lack that authority. They don't have that quality in that mid-table championship team that Leicester basically still are, because they don't have the players, they don't recruit, and they haven't really backed Ruud van Nistelrooy as a manager and brought him any players in. And he's already facing the sack, and possibly he's even considering resigning because Ruud van Nistelrooy was promised signings, he was promised players being brought in and players being got rid of. That has not happened at Leicester. And I think the problem is, if I was Ruud van Nistelrooy and I looked at that Fulham result and I look what is going on and off the pitch for Leicester City as a football club as a whole, I would walk away and do yourself a big, big favour, because that Fulham defeat, I'm not surprised by it though. I'm not surprised Fulham won because the quality outshone Leicester. Fulham have got physical and better players in that team than what they've ever had, in my view. You look at the quality of Sander Berge. Obviously, United were linked with him last summer, and we were chasing Agate all summer long, and it took 3 months to bloody sign him. Man United were chasing Agate, and then all of a sudden we dropped out of the Agate race because it was too expensive, and Man United basically used the PSR, they used the financial fair play, and they used the sell to buy as an excuse to not go and splash all that money on Agate. And we still ended up 3 months later giving PSG exactly what they wanted for Agate in the first place of what they were requiring. When we dropped out that Agate race, we ended up getting linked to Sander Berge. Obviously, I don't want ex-rejects of Burnley anywhere near this fucking football club. That, for me, is not the level and the expectation I want as a fan of Manchester United. Going for players that have been relegated with Burnley, no disrespect, if you're bringing in players like that to Manchester United to improve your midfield, it shows you get very desperate. It shows you get very, very rinsed because you don't know who to go for. Because when you come up with the excuse that United are coming up with, it wasn't really a big surprise when Sander Berge got linked, because he got linked with United when Solskjaer was still manager. I remember that. When Solskjaer was Manchester United's manager, we were linked with Sander Berge all the time. And that was because Ollie was Norwegian and so was Sander Berge. That, for me, was the only connection and the only reason why Sander Berge was linked with Manchester United in the first place, because of Solskjaer and because he was Norwegian. That was the only reason I can physically give on why we were linked with him in the first place. And obviously, in my view, I'm actually glad Sander Berge has gone to Fulham, because he's actually done really, really well. For me, he's probably a standout performer in Fulham's season, in my view. He's been one of those players that has added so much midfield quality in that CDM role that Fulham had been lacking under so many of their managers before, especially under Scott Parker. That midfield was getting absolutely walked through. And if you look at that Fulham midfield now, it has got quality written all over it. I'm not surprised by that, because Sander Berge has managed to improve that CDM role from a Fulham perspective so well, because he's managing to sit in front of that Fulham back four, and he's managing to protect them and break down the opposition's attacking threat to go up against Fulham's back four, and he's managing to break their play down. So from a Fulham perspective, it's actually a very, very good reliability that they've got a player like Sander Berge in their team. And I think that is why he ended up at Fulham. I think the only reason we got linked with him again last summer was the pure fact that we ended up pulling out for Agate. And I think that was probably a negotiation tactic to probably get PSG to accept the money and the deal and the offer that we were making to PSG at the time. And that was probably right. We'll drop out of the Agate race. Let's get us linked to Zanderberg. Let's put our name out there that we are basically going to look for other options. And obviously, I think PSG and Manchester United in the end got very, very desperate to get this Agate deal signed and for him to become a Manchester United player. And I'm grateful we've got Agate. He is one of Manchester United's better midfield options going forward. You have to be honest with that. Agate has absolutely worked wonders on our midfield since he's been in the first team. But again, yesterday it did concern me by the lack of midfield creativity and stability, because when we dropped Collier and Ericsson in that midfield, they were the only two midfield options against a load of other Rangers attacking players. And we didn't really have that midfield dominance, because when you've got no Agate in there and no Mainu, the midfield, in my view, it looks at sixes and sevens. And they were discussing it on TNT Sports last night. That midfield, there's no runners. There is no one else working their butt off in that midfield. And I think the pundits are absolutely right. There's no one working their butts off in that midfield when you haven't got the quality in it in Toby Collier and Christian Eriksen. For me, neither of them are the options going forward, in my view. I don't think that's the right direction to go down with these two. And if Collier and Eriksen start getting more game time, again, it starts concerning me, because what happens to Mainu, what happens to Agate, because we look a lot more physical and a lot more stable with those two in that midfield too, with the supporting wing backs. But when those two are out the team and you drop an Eriksen in there and you drop a Collier in there who's still young, still learning and still trying to gain that first team experience, you start seeing the vulnerability of Manchester United's midfield balance. It goes out the window. There isn't any balance. There isn't any stability. It looks at times so worrying, the amount of times our midfield gets walked through, because again, you're chucking inexperience in Collier into big games, who clearly is not ready yet. And in my view, Christian Eriksen, what's he still doing here? Like, we were still desperately trying to get him out this January. Christian Eriksen's still here. And no disrespect to Eriksen, he's one of my favourite United players. But at the end of the day, the midfield were meant to be improving that option. And when you chuck Eriksen back into the team, look how weak we look. Look how vulnerable we look defensively when that midfield gets pulled apart by all the other midfield runners from the opposition. The midfield breaks apart, and then the opposition are just fully on attacking our goal. We don't have any stability, because when you don't have Agate there and you don't have Mainu there, it makes us look very, very weak. And I think for me, they've got to come back in Sunday, because I didn't see that quality yesterday when they weren't in that team. And again, it really, really does worry me that Eriksen's still getting a chance. Collier, for me, Collier needs a loan move. I don't think he's quite ready yet to be a main starter in our team. I think he needs a loan move to go on with and work on as a professional, and bring that experience back once he's had that loan move, bring that back to United, and then he might end up becoming a first midfield team starter. That might be, for me, that's the better option. But it concerns me that Eriksen's getting all this game time. It's really, really concerning me that he's getting all this game time all of a sudden. Ahead of Agate and ahead of Mainu, there's got to be something in there. And I'm not going to use the excuses of, well, at the end of the day, we have to rotate. We can't keep playing the same team. Again, I am going to completely disagree with this. If Manchester United want to win and they want to get results on the pitch, you have to be putting out your best team every week. There's no excuses for injury. There's no excuse for tiredness or fatigue. You can't really hide behind the barrier if you're a Manchester United player. And if you've got a manager like Ruben Amorim basically quoting, we can't put our best team out, we can't use the same players every week, that, for me, is the only thing I've got really, really big concerns about him as a manager, is that he can't seem to put out his best team. We have to rotate, we have to change, we have to freshen things up. If Ruben Amorim has got any authority about him as a manager, I'm not trying to be negative about him, but I'm trying to make him understand, if you want results, Ruben, and you want us to win and be successful on the pitch, you've got to realise you need to be putting your best team out every fucking week. You need to forget these backups. You need to forget these options you've got off the bench and focus more on the first team core 11 players to move and build with. Because if you start mixing it all up, that there's going to be a lack of transition, there's going to be a lack of connection, there's going to be a lack of build-up play. And that is because we are tinkering and changing so many players that are in, out, shake it all about. We need to be sticking with a first team 11 that Ruben Amorim believes in. And I'm not sure he knows that yet. For me, when you are still using Delo at left wing back, when you're still using Ericsson and Collier in the midfield, when you're still using Xerxes up front and Bandera in goal, it really, really worries me that we are still using these options that we all deep down know ain't good enough. But the problem is, Ruben Amorim's still picking them and giving them that opportunity. And the more opportunities they get, the more likely they've got a chance of staying here for the future, which I don't think is really correct, because I want Man United to be a bigger and better football club with better players going forward as a team. That's my big argument about all of this, is the fact that those players I've mentioned there should not be in a Manchester United shirt. Deep down, they ain't fucking good enough. And if it was me, and the problem is, what I didn't know about last night, and is a big, big concern, we have got injuries again. And again, I am not using that as an excuse. Injuries cannot be used as an excuse again, because Ten Hag did that week in, week out, and it got so boring to the point that was getting boring listening to it come out his mouth. We've got problems ahead of Sunday. And what I didn't realise last night, De Ligt was subbed off because he felt something in his leg. Yoro felt something yesterday. That was why Yoro was subbed. And again, we are then, if that's true, and we've got no De Ligt and we've got no Yoro, that absolutely terrifies me to pieces, because that basically destroys the whole back three. Because that back three looks absolutely all over the place, because that's a big blow. I didn't know that until I read it on Twitter last night. Yoro and De Ligt, the reason why those subs were made is because both of them felt something at half time. I didn't know this until I looked. So it's a bit of reality check for me, but it is a big, big blow, because if both players have got injuries, and I don't know what injuries they've picked up or how long or excessive these injuries are looking on paper, if these are bad injuries and they're going to be out for a long time, our back three then basically contains Martinez and Maguire, because you've got no Shaw there, you've got no De Ligt, you've got no Yoro, and you've got no Lindelof. So you basically got you've got 2 out of 7 options left in that team. And if you don't have Yoro and De Ligt available on Sunday, it really, really terrifies me that who are we going to put in that back three? Who are we going to be able to put with Martinez and Maguire? And again, putting Maguire in there, if Ruben Amorim has got any credentials about him as a manager at all, I wouldn't be chucking Maguire in that team on Sunday. I don't care if Yoro and De Ligt have got a problem. I would not be chucking Maguire in that starting 11. If he does, he will just make the same mistake as he did yesterday. You see the Rangers equaliser and you see the lack of defending or the lack of awareness to defend and do his job properly as a centre-back. If you chuck Maguire in against Fulham, we are going to have big, big problems on the counter-attack, because you've got Iwobi attacking him, Raul Jimenez attacking him. You've got the special quality of Emile Smith-Rowe. If you chuck Maguire in there, we are going to have multiple attacks looking at the vulnerability of that back three, because that back three could look completely different to what it is now. What might end up happening is we put Maguire and Martinez at centre-back. We end up chucking Malacia inside that back three with Maguire and Martinez. We'll end up seeing Delo at left wing back again. But the problem is, what I didn't know again yesterday, Mazraoui has also got a knock. He felt something against Brighton last Sunday evening at Old Trafford. Again, another big blow if he's not available for Sunday, because we have then got no options. All we've got is Lindelof. No, all we've got is Maguire, Martinez, Delo, Malacia. No Shaw, no Mazraoui, no De Ligt, no Yoro, no Lindelof. So we're basically stuck with only 4 options to cover the back three as well as the 2 wing backs. And that absolutely terrifies me. And I think, do you know what? If I'm Yoro and Delit and I'm looking at that situation thinking, if we don't play Sunday and they go with Maguire, Martinez, and Malasir in that back three, they're going to get found out. They're going to get absolutely found out, and we are going to get squared upon. We are not going to be able to cope with Fulham's resistant, constant attacks on our back three. And if you've got Delo at left wing back and we've got no right wing back, then I don't see how Manchester United come away with a clean sheet, because the options are getting limited now. And this is the big problem. Again, I come back to Ineos and I come back to the Glazers. Where is your investment? Where is the money to back this manager? And what's fucked me off ahead of a big game, which is a huge game for us in terms of a survival battle, because we're still in a relegation fight. People don't realise we are in a massive, massive relegation fight. We are fighting relegation. Let's call a spade here. Man United are in a relegation battle. We are fighting relegation because of the shit situation that Ineos and the Glazers have put Ruben Amorim in. And what's annoyed me, what's come out today, if Ruben Amorim has been left severely frustrated, pissed off, and really fucked off because he hasn't had any backing in the January transfer window. He hasn't been given any players. He hasn't been given signings. Players he wanted haven't been brought in. Players he wanted rid of are still at this football club. And you know what? Apparently, Ruben Amorim was told this before even he got the job, that don't expect anything in January, Ruben. Don't expect any signings. Don't expect any money, because apparently it's not there, even though we all know it is. So Ruben Amorim has basically walked into a sinking ship that is basically turned into the Titanic. He's walked into that boat. He's got on that boat. The boat's hit the fucking iceberg, and he basically knows. So I'm stuck with what I've got. Yeah, Ruben, basically. I don't think that's fair. And if he was told that pre-4, he got the job in the first place. If I was Ruben Amorim, I would think of two options now. You resign or you walk away. Because if that's true and you've basically not been back and you've been thrown under the bus, I'm really sorry. As Ruben Amorim's a manager, I would say to Manchester United, go fuck yourself. You've left me in this shit. I've got 600 million worth of crap that you brought under a former manager we all know weren't good enough. And you've basically come to me and basically brought me in midway through a season, even though I didn't want to do that. And he wanted to stay at Sporting till the end of the season. And Man United got desperate because they wanted someone in now. The problem with that is you're not backing the manager and you're not giving him any signings because you're coming up with every excuse in the book not to spend any money. I'm sorry to say, all this PSR, financial fair play, and sell to buy is the biggest load of crap I've heard in my life. Go and ask any other of the 19 Premier League clubs, are you struggling financial fair play? Are you struggling for sell to buy? Have you got PSR issues? I don't see anyone else coming up with that excuse. It's only seeming to be Manchester United. And that is a big point. If Ruben Amorim was told that even before he got the job, I wouldn't have accepted it. So again, Ruben Amorim has got to take some kind of responsibility for idiotically accepting the job. But the problem is you can't really turn down the lure of Manchester United, can you really? You can't really turn that down. So at the end of the day, I feel sorry for our manager. I feel sorry for Ruben Amorim. This isn't his fault. And again, with the options limited already as what it is, we might see a completely different team on Sunday, because the options we haven't got are going to basically fuck us up, because the Glazers and Ineos don't want to dig into their pockets and bring players in. And what makes me laugh, we're going all out for this Patrick Dorgu from Lecce in Serie A, a young 20-year-old left wing back, an option that Man United needed in January last year and even needed in the summer last year. Ineos and the Glazers ignored both. And now we've got desperate to bring a left back in because Man United haven't got a fucking left back. The problem they've got is we're going after someone deep down Ruben Amorim doesn't want. And people will say, well, you can't expect Patrick Dorgu to be chucked straight in. Again, I disagree with you. Patrick Dorgu is going to be playing a lot of first-team football because of the faults of Malasir and Shaw. Dorgu is in the situation where he wants to move, he wants to come to Manchester United, and he doesn't realise the mess and the hellhole that he is about to enter is basically walking in walking into hell. He is walking into hell here. You realise you're going straight into the first team, right? You realise you're going to have to go straight into left back because I can't use Delo there. If Mazraoui's out for weeks, I've then got to chuck Delo back at fucking right wing back. And I've then got no Yoro, no Delit, and I'm stuck with Maguire, Martinez, and Malacia inside my back three. People don't realise Dorgu's going to have to come straight in. I'd hope you all realise that. But again, I don't want Patrick Dorgu. I wanted Nuno Mendes. I wanted Alphonso Davies. Those were the number 1 and 2 options that Amorim wanted, and Manchester United have said no. That is not backing, I'm afraid. That is fucking unforgivable. You're basically telling me you are not going to give him what he wants. You're not going to give him his number 1 or number 2 option. You're basically giving him option C, D, and E. Again, that's not backing the manager. That is throwing him under the bus. And I think this is what Ruben Amorim is trying to point out. He hasn't got a left back last night. He doesn't have a left back on Sunday. And now we're getting desperate for Dorgu. Like, it makes no sense. Again, going after a Serie A player. Look what's happened with Rasmus Højlund. Look what's happened with Xerxes. And you're bringing in a 20-year-old international Denmark left back from Lecce, who are in a massive relegation fight in Serie A. Like, well done, Manchester United. Like, well done. Because you've utterly basically entered more fucking incompetence because you've got a player who wants to move. And I get why he wants to come to the club. Man United will always be bigger and better than Lecce. No disrespect to their fans and supporters. You're in a relegation fight for a reason because you're shit, in my view. So that is why we're going after him. But I don't think it's the right left back. I don't think it's the right option. I don't think it's the right choice. I think it's a bloody disgrace. I think Nuno Mendes was number 1. Alphonso Davies was number 2. I think Patrick Dorgu was way below that list. And we were even after Kirk Ezra and Bournemouth. And we're going after Patrick Dorgu. It makes you want to cry. It really does want to make you cry. And again, the options again are limited because what team are we going to put out with the back three crisis? Now we've got one. I'm sorry, I don't get how Yoro and Delit have picked these injuries up. I really don't understand that they've been fit for weeks and weeks on end. Is it the amount of game time they're getting? Is the amount of minutes they're having to play because the other options aren't available? Or is it basically knowing that they're the only better options in that team compared to the shit Man United have got? And again, I would blame Johnny Evans for this. I would blame Maguire for this. And I would blame Lindelof. You three are massively at fault for having to pick Martinez, Delit, and Yor every week. Because you three shouldn't be at this football club. You three should have all moved on last summer. You three held the club to ransom, didn't want to go anywhere, didn't want to leave because you know you ain't going to see the type of wages you're on ever again. You know that you still got a chance of being in the team. No disrespect, you haven't, because either you three should be at this club still. You three should have got some balls by the horns and gone with your own gut and feeling that you deep down knew that you had to move on and get out of this club. And you've basically fucked Ruben Amorim over because you've now cost Yoro an injury and you've now cost Delit. And I'm not saying Maguire, Lindelof and Johnny Evans should be in this team. No way should they be in this team. All three of them are not fucking good enough. And the problem is, again, we're having to use Yoro, Martinez and Delit every game because Ruben Amorim isn't stupid. Ruben Amorim is not a clueless manager. Ruben Amorim has got everyone sussed. And the problem is, I feel sorry for Yoro and Delit for being in this situation because without them on Sunday, that back three will get found out. We've got no right wing back. We've got Delo at fucking left wing back again. It really terrifies me how badly we're going to be able to do our defensive job. It really, really concerns me. And don't be surprised if this gets exposed Sunday. Don't be surprised in all your heart and all your life that Man United will get massively, massively found out by the opposition. Because without Delit and without Yoro, I dread to fucking think what is going to happen. I absolutely dread the outcome. I dread the result because I don't trust Maguire. I don't trust Lindelof. And I'm sorry, I don't trust Johnny Evans because Johnny Evans is also still injured. Something, again, I didn't know about. What injuries Johnny Evans got? Can someone quote me or find the reason why Johnny Evans has got the injury he's got? Because there's been no indication and no message or communication, again, from a complete and utter incompetent football club that how has Johnny Evans picked up an injury? Because I thought he was fit. I thought he was available, but no. injury-prone centre-back. And again, Man United should have grabbed the balls by the horns again and realised, do you know what? Ruben Amorim needs better than Maguire. He needs better than Lindelof, and he needs better than Johnny Evans. Why has this football club failed to cooperate? Why has this football club failed to back this manager? Why have Manchester United sat there and basically tied Ruben Amorim's hands top behind his back again? That, I'm sorry, it's not fucking acceptable. Because what options have we got as a backup? I mean, God forbid if Martinez picks up an injury, we would be absolutely screwed. Because Martinez is the only other decent centre-back we've got in that team for Sunday. If there's no De Ligt and there's no Yoro, I absolutely dread to think the outcome. That's my big fear on Sunday. I know what the midfield will be. It will be Mainu and Agate will come back in for Ericsson and Collier. They'll put Bruno Fernandes in the attacking front three to support Ahmad and Højlund. I think Garnacho, could this be his last game for the club? Because, you know, we are still waiting for this bid from Chelsea. We haven't seen the value or the amount of money that they've bid for. Apparently today, this bid has gone in. Could this be Garnacho's final hurrah for this football club? I hope not. It is. I hope it isn't. Because without Garnacho, I absolutely dread to think who we're going to go for and who we're going to recruit to bring in as a replacement. That's my biggest fear. That's my biggest worry here. If we get rid of Garnacho and it's his final game against Fulham on Sunday in a United shirt, I absolutely dread to think the outcome again. Because who's that replacement on that left wing going to be? The only option is that Williams from Athletic Bilbao. And I said it on the reaction for the Rangers game last night. That is the only option I would go for out of all the options I've got. And again, Ruben Amorim's confirmed today Rashford isn't going to be in the team for Sunday. So again, Manchester United are still desperately trying to get rid of Marcus Rashford, and his representatives and his people behind Rashford are desperately trying to get him that move to Barcelona because that's the only move he wants. Rashford to Barcelona, that's the only team he wants to play for. And I'm afraid, I hope it does happen. I hope Man United do get rid. I hope Rashford is forced out the door. I hope they do get rid of Rashford because he wasn't in the team last night. And I'm not surprised by it. It's all right by putting out all these pictures and videos of him smiling and being happy and training. But if he ain't in the team for last night, there's no way he's going to be in that team on Sunday. Because at the moment, he doesn't want to play for this football club. And I don't think Ruben Amorim wants part of it. But if Ruben Amorim is forced to bring him back in, I will be fuming with this football club because it's not right. He's having to bring back players in that he doesn't want it in his club. He doesn't want them in his team. So you can't dictate to a manager basically, well, you've got options here. You either keep Anthony or sell Rashford, or we sell Anthony, you keep Rashford. No, I don't want that as options A and B. You've got to replace Rashford. You've got to replace Anthony. And if Garnacho goes, you've got to replace him as well. You can't just sit and say, oh, we can't do fuck all. No, I am not taking that as an excuse. So United have got big problems because if it is Garnacho's last goodbye and it is his last game in the United shirt, I wish him well. But if he goes to Chelsea, I think the fan base will erupt. I don't think that's the right move for him. I don't think Manchester United should be selling to a Premier League rival because for me, Garnacho goes straight into that Chelsea team. There's no two ways about it. Garnacho goes straight into that Chelsea team. And I don't want him to go to Chelsea. I can't fucking stand Chelsea fans. They're absolutely so up their own fucking ass. And this is my big problem. If you sell to Chelsea, he's going to go straight into the team. And he will produce on that left wing so many times. And if they bid big money, do you think Man United are going to turn it down? So I hope, do you know what? Not trying to be nasty. If we plays and he does his hamstring, that Chelsea move won't happen. So it could be a good ploy to put him in that team and hope he pulls his hamstring or he does his knee or he does his ankle. I'm not wishing injury on anyone. That's my last resort. But if he goes into the team Sunday, I will back Amorim by picking Garnacho and he puts him in the starting 11 because he's our best attacking option on that left flank. We don't have anyone else in that team who's got the level or the quality Garnacho's got. Because if Rashford ain't there, who's the backup to Garnacho? Anthony's gone to Real Betis. He's travelling to Betis tonight ahead of his loan deal from Manchester United till the end of the season. So he's gone to Betis on loan till the end of this current season. He will come back at the end once the season concludes and finishes off. So the only other winger you've got is Ahmad. And he's a right winger. And you can't put him on the left. You can't play Ahmad down the middle because then the right wing gets massively exposed and massively left wide open for anyone to come in and make that position their own. We don't have another backup right winger now. I hope you all realise this. We don't have a backup right winger, and you're going to have to really, really hope now. You're going to have to hope, really, really hope. What doesn't happen? We sell Garnacho. Rashford goes to Barcelona. Anthony's gone to Betis. We all knew that was going to happen. And then what happens then? Ahmad does his knee. Ahmad does his ankle. Ahmad does his hamstring, and he feels it. That is my big, big concern, because the only options you've got left then are Xerxes and Højlund for the rest of the season. So we've got no left winger, no right winger. What are you going to do there, United? What are you going to do there? Because at the end of the day, you can't just carry on with that as your options going forward for the rest of the season, because what if Xerxes does his hamstring? What if Højlund does his knee? You're basically left with one or the other. And you've got no wing options because all your wing options are gone. You haven't got any left. And I think Ruben Amorim is not going to be happy, because he's got so many uncertain questions in that team. Garnacho and Rashford are the main two talking points now of that team on Sunday. Rashford, we all know won't be in that team. If he didn't play yesterday, which he did, which I think was the correct decision, I'm really, really hoping he doesn't bring him back in on Sunday. I really, really hope that does not happen. But we may have no choice. We may have no bloody choice but to do it, because the options aren't there as backups. There's no options off that bench. There is no backups. And I hope you all realise this. There is no options off that bench to bring on to replace the left winger and the right wing options. There isn't anybody. We don't have them. We haven't got that quality in Manchester United Football Club as a whole to be able to do this. And that is because, again, I come back to the Glazer, come back to Ineos. Pull your fucking finger out and give Ruben Amorim some money, because he can't carry on with the same squad. He can't carry on with these players. That's not fair. You're basically dictating and having his two hands tied behind his back again. Sorry, that for me is unacceptable. That for me is not right. To treat a manager like that who has done fuck all wrong, you've put him in this mess in the first place, and you've got half this team depleted full of injuries, which isn't any excuse. You're going to have to carry on and grin and bear it. But you're then sacrificing most of the attacking options because we need to bring money in. But we've got problems in defence. We've got a problem in goal. We've got a problem in all three of the attacking positions in that team, because you're basically trying to destroy this fucking football club and rip it apart on every angle that you want. And if we lose Sunday, will there be a massive reaction to bring players in? There probably is going to have to bloody happen. We can't sit for the last week of the window and do fuck all, because if we do, I'm going to have to react to it. I'm going to have to sit there and react to Manchester United's incompetent transfer window again. I don't want to do that, but I feel like I've got no choice at the moment, because I don't feel any positive energy or any positive feeling. I don't have the enthusiasm anymore, because I've seen all this before. I've seen the old tricks of the school book. I ain't fucking stupid. I've seen this mess happen before under every fucking manager that we have had. Ruben Amorim is going to suffer the same fate. We'll be sat here in 3 years' time. Ruben Amorim will be gone. Mark that's words. I put a bet on that. I would put a bet on that. Ruben Amorim in 3 years' time will be gone, because the Glazers and Ineos have failed yet again another manager, because there is a lack of quality in that team. And Ineos and the Glazers must be watching their games with a blindfold on. They must be fucking Captain Hook, because at the end of the day, if you can't see, there's a lack of attacking threat. We've got a lack of options in defence, and we've got a shit goalie in goal. And you're not willing to back the manager. You're not willing to put money in to bring these problematic players' careers to an end. And you're using, PSR is a big, big problem. No, it's not. Financial fair play is a big problem. No, it's not. Sell to buy. Don't give me that either. Don't you dare, because you did that last season and you're not doing it again. You can't keep hiding behind your lies. You can't keep hiding behind your bullshit. No one's falling for it, and I'm not falling for it. I hope we win Sunday, but it might not be a bad thing if we lose, because it might wake Man United up to go and splash some money ahead of the final week of the January transfer window. Do I think that's going to happen? No, I don't. But if we go and sign Dorgu, my reaction is going to be pretty annoyed, a pretty frustrating one. And I'm having to prepare for that because if we bring him in, I'm not convinced. I'm sorry, I'm not convinced, and I'm not willing to give him a chance. I'm not willing to get behind a player I don't want at this club because I think in 4 to 5 years' time, he won't be here because he'll start performing well. He'll be our main left back option starting every game, and everyone will be all over him. And then we don't have any other backup because Man United will get rid of Shaw, they'll get rid of Malacia, and then we'll be stuck because we've only got Dorgu. And if Dorgu goes, we ain't got no one. So I'm kind of getting prepared for that. I'm just hoping that we take the win and the momentum and the confidence from last night's dramatic win over Rangers into the Fulham game on Sunday. But I am expecting a really tough game because we know the Fulham problem players. We know the quality they've got. Iwobi, Smith Rowe, Wilson, Jimenez, Adama Traore. You look at that Fulham team and it's got quality written all over it because you've got a good team behind Marco Silva. You've got good owners, a good board, a good management, a good structure. You've got a world-class recruitment team bringing all these players in. And look at the quality, the results, and the football that Fulham play under Marco Silva. If we had a manager like Marco Silva, he would be at a big club like Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea. He needs that next step, in my view, because I think he's too good for Fulham, in my view. I think, Fulham are one of those clubs where they're very stable now. They haven't really got anything to worry about because the bottom three are a bottom three for a reason. They're shit. They can't compete, don't have the players, don't have the budget, don't have the quality to compete because the gap between the Premier League and the Championship is getting too wide now for anyone to really compete in this division. And again, Fulham don't really have to suffer bad results because they know that the bottom three are getting cut adrift. They know those three are going to really struggle to get out of this anyway. So Fulham don't really have anything to worry about. They focus a lot on themselves now because they don't really have any problems to really consider that that's going to be a big issue for them as a club as a whole. So again, I'm expecting a tough game. I'm not expecting this to be easy. I'm expecting Fulham to go full guns blazing on Manchester United. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a tough atmosphere. Craven Cottage is always an atmosphere that every Fulham fan gets behind their team. Fulham is always a tough team to play against. We've seen so many bogey results for Manchester United before against Fulham, and we do see them. We do see them, but we did do the double over them last season, or did we? We beat them away and we got banged at home, didn't we? So we only took 3 points off them last season. So United need to end that, and hopefully we'll be able to complete this double off and achieve the Fulham double by getting 3 points at Craven Cottage come Sunday evening after the full-time whistle. And again, it is a 7 o'clock kickoff. It is a bit of a weird one, but again, they're probably trying to screw Manchester United over. And you know what? I will take a sneaky 1-0 win. I'd be happy with that, but let's see what happens come full-time at Craven Cottage on Sunday evening. So I hope you enjoyed this look ahead. Please hit the like button, the share button. Please do keep subscribing to the channel. United Red Devils 20 on YouTube. Share the video, hit the tweet button, hit the retweet button. Always remember, put the notification bell on. Also, receive dedicated upcoming brand new content that we've got planned for all of you amazing people right throughout the rest of 2025. We've got brand new videos, brand new shorts, brand new live streams, and brand new content planned for all of you people to be a part of. Obviously, we've still got this big announcement and big step up, which is happening in April. Thanks to my mate Jordan. He's a massive legend. He's managed to get me on board, give me that confidence and the belief and the positivity to take this next direction in my life for my friends and my family. And then obviously, please join me for the full-time reaction once that full-time whistle goes at Craven Cottage on Sunday evening. I wouldn't be surprised if United lost. I wouldn't be surprised if Fulham grab a point or at least another win. But let's see what happens come Sunday evening. Enjoy your Friday evening. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. Stay safe. Be nice. Be kind to each other. You're all legends. You're all legends. And I'll see you guys all on the next one.